Hello, Hockey World. That's Friday. We'll call it Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday, April 25th, 2025.
I'm Chris Shalish.
I'm Kevin Allen with Detroit Hockey Now.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching Hockey Buzzcast on hockeybuzz.com. And I'm trying not to blend too much in with my background here. Sorry, I realize that I'm wearing this bizarre shirt. I get all my clothes from thrift shops, and so I kind of look for like bizarre shirts because why not? And this is one of them.
That's very Cosmo Kramer. I like it a lot.
Right, it is. And it's just I don't want to pay like $30 for a shirt. I want to pay $4 for a shirt.
Well, yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, and it's cooler usually, because it's another. It's. I love thrift shops that like they're so out of style. They're back in. It's like funny how this cycle goes, and then you find something. They're like, wow, these are amazing, and all this stuff. I actually knew. I don't know why we're getting on the subject. Sorry, but I actually knew a guy who worked for Urban Outfitters. The big chain store thing, and their whole job is to go around to thrift shops, find cool things, and then make them and sell them for like $50 a piece. that's his job. He's like, he's like, I find it, I buy a shirt, I send it to the factory like this. Oh, that's cool. It's like retro, whatever. And make 100 of those.
So you're wearing a prototype.
Exactly.
Not to turn this into a fashion show, but
Please.
I was watching the NFL draft yesterday. A couple of the players said they were wearing, they ask them what they wear, like it's, they're walking the red carpet of the Oscars or something. And someone says, yeah, well, I'm wearing Abercrombie and Fitch. And he goes, I didn't even know they made suits, but they called me and said, would you wear one of our suits? And, it was free. How could I say no? So
what the heck, come on. That's like, well, the red carpet thing's gone too far, Kevin. It's just like, they're trying to be like, like I'm wearing Salvation Army, Marlton, New Jersey. So that's what I'm wearing.
Anyway. You're wearing rummage sale chic.
Yeah.
I do think, though, speaking of the drafts, I love the NFL tradition. And what I love most about it is that it happened organically, which is when the players come in, like they want their hug from the commissioner. Like that's such a big thing. And I can't imagine Gary Bettman hugging players.
I was about to say.
But it really works for the NFL. And like I said, it wasn't a marketing thing. It just happened. He started hugging them. They started to like it. One guy came back last year. He didn't go in the first round. He spoke to me, and he put on Facebook, I want my hug. Even though I didn't go in the first round, he wanted it. I just think that's so cool. I love things that happen. Like I always said that they should have let the rats go a little bit longer because it wasn't contrived. It just happened.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing with the octopus.
Yeah. I mean, there's people saying, screw those people. Honestly,
yeah.
In Nashville. It's great.
Yeah, I don't love the Nashville fish because that was kind of planned. They saw what was going on elsewhere.
Okay, yes, you're from Detroit, yeah. So
yeah, so yeah.
But in Jersey they're throwing out Hot Topic gift cards. I think that's all cool.
Okay.
Is that we're talking fashion again because we all have really weird shirts on. You're the Toledo Mud Hens, Kevin.
Yep.
And you've got a Duff Beer shirt on.
So this is actually Duff's. It's like a heavy metal bar in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Really cool place. I'll try to pull up some pictures if I could share them with you. It's a crazy place.
That's pretty awesome. I'm a big Simpsons fan, so I thought it was a Duff Beer.
No, it's not. No Simpsons relation here.
No Simpsons relation at all. All right, let's get going here. So here we go. Let's talk about this here. So we have we have a lot of questions that are actually from the people who have emailed me questions and text me questions, stuff like that. It's about the rumors. So we're gonna get into the rumors before we get into our topic for today, which I think you'll like. But first, did you guys hear the Elliot Friedman stuff about Erik Karlsson? I think
that'll be news to me.
Yeah, it will be news to me as well.
Apparently, he dropped some hint the other day. I was hoping one of you had heard it because I've seen people talking about it. But anyway, I didn't really hear it, but I heard about it kind of. I didn't hear it directly from him. I didn't. Anyway, they know that Karlsson's very much in play this summer. Now that Erik Karlsson, that's it's kind of a weird one because obviously huge salary. I'm sure he's in play, absolutely he's in play, right?
Yeah, that's been true for the last 2 or 3 years.
You can definitely get him. But he And when something like this comes out, Kevin, I'm like kind of like thinking, not Elliott's not doing this on purpose or whatever, but this feels like a rumor that starts within an organization in Pittsburgh and they spread it out to certain people, and then it ends up getting back. I've had this happen to me where it gets back to you, and it's like because they want to put out there that he's available. Basically, it's like you can't do that.
I mean, he did say. I mean, I did read the player cleaning out their lockers story from Pittsburgh, and he basically spoke about the fact that he knows what the situation is. Like he didn't hide the fact that that he could end up being moved. It hasn't worked out as well as the Penguins had wanted to. They're trying to. Rebuild. Rebuild's probably not the right word because, they're keeping all their, premium players with the exception of Carlson if they can move them. But, but they certainly are in the middle of trying to reconfigure their roster, and moving him out would create more, cap space. Plus, simply it just hasn't worked there. Like their power play was atrocious, and like he is supposed to be the power play guy. So I think it just makes sense that he would get moved if possible. But I think they're gonna have to eat salary. I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah, they'd have to do that for sure. I know.
Yeah, I heard some things that in Pittsburgh they were thinking about like kind of making that one last push here with Crosby and Malkin and Letang still there. Carlson right now 2 years left. He'll be 37 when the contract ends at 11.5 mil. If they can pull that out, it gives them a lot of chips to play with to maybe add some pieces, I
mean, they could. I mean, even if they took half that salary, which they probably would have to,
they won't. They won't.
You don't think so?
No, because you'd have to go 4 years on that. I mean, like what I'm telling you, even people in Detroit, I always say, if you want to understand, like it's real easy for fans and for members of the media to say, don't just buy him out. But the consequences of that are far greater than you think. And, I say to Detroit fans, if you want to understand how this really works, the Red Wings next season will still be paying off Justin Abdicator, who hasn't played for the team in 5 years. So, and you know what? And, even though it's just a little over $1 million, that's, they need that $1 million. They need it last year for sure.
Well, no, it's his money. It's real money. It's not like, fake money.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guy's hurt, it's a different scenario. It's Lords of London money or whatever it is. But but what about a trade, Kevin? Like if they were to trade him, how much do you think they would eat salary in that situation?
Well, I think they got to eat some salary, but not half. I mean, $5 million is a lot to eat on that. That would be 2 years for that. But if they bought him out, it would be 4 years, and it would be less than that. So they'll have to consider both options, but if they really want to get rid of them. But
sure,
buyouts. Are difficult for teams to get their arms around.
For sure. So Chris, they say that a series doesn't start until you lose the game at home.
Yes.
All right. The Devils are home tonight. What is your feeling on this whole thing?
I mean, so I was talking to Kevin Gibson yesterday, and what we said, I said, do you remember Dennis Green with the Arizona Cardinals? They were talking about the Chicago Bears, and I think they beat them in a Monday night game. And he goes, they are who we thought they were, right? So, this is exactly who I thought these Devils were. And it's not even that I thought it. I saw it. The last 4 months of the season, this is the team, very thin team, even when they're healthy at this point. The team would have looked completely different if Jack Hughes was healthy at the deadline.
Right.
With that injury, I mean, really, Tom Fitzgerald said the right things to the media, said the right things to maybe keep Nico and Jesper Bratt and Timo happy that he was trying to build here. But realistically, it didn't make sense to give up assets that you could hold for next season without use. It really, that's what it shakes down to. The team is like paper thin right now if you look at this roster.
Yeah. And you can't really give that. A team has been in the playoffs all year. You can't really sell that to your fan base either, honestly. Like, it's like if you're just, the Devils fans were already sent their money in for playoff tickets, it's not a cool thing to do. Kevin and I had this discussion, and then I got a text saying, I want to hear Chris's opinion on this. So, we discussed if as you properly predicted in pass from your Ouija board or something, that that Quinn Hughes would eventually be a devil, right?
Right.
And my question is this: like, so what we talked about is what it would take to get him, and I brought up, I think it would take Jasper Bratt to get him. I honestly think that's the theme. Would you do that?
No.
Okay.
No, you can't. I don't see right now, especially since the way that Vancouver's basically in the corner here. They're backed into a corner. They have, very limited ability to trade him for any real asset, because any team that gets him knows that they have him for 2 years max, right?
Yeah.
So really, the asking price went way down there. If you look at what they got for JT Miller, I mean, what could you really give them for Quinn Hughes? You'll give them slightly more, but they got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best player, so that does play into it, right? Like, he's their best player on the team.
I disagree. I disagree. They can't get 2 years is different than 1 year. Like, if you only had 1 year left, I would agree with Chris. But for 2 years, you can get something for him. Like, they could just trade him elsewhere. I don't know what his no trade clause says. But if he had a list of 10,
anybody in the chat room, find out what the no trade clause is.
Yeah, and whether if it's 10 teams or not.
Yeah, if I recall, I don't think he has one at all. I believe.
Really? That'd be surprising.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, like if they traded him now, they could still get a lot. 2 years is pretty significant. Imagine him going to the Florida Panthers or something. I mean, you'd say, well, Zito couldn't make that work. Well, maybe he could. If
now he's got a magic wand that can make things work.
If you traded Aaron Ekblad to
doesn't sign Bennett, there's certain things that could happen.
Yeah, so
like right there, I think that. But we did bring up also. Kevin brought up last time Dougie Hamilton as a trade, right? And that would make sense. Obviously, both making money, both defensemen. But I think in order for that to happen, Dougie Hamilton has to have like a stellar playoffs. he has to really show people what he's about. He has
the clock's ticking there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It might have already stopped.
Well, let's see. We didn't lose a game at home yet, like X said. So
no, you're right. You're right.
Okay, so Tom Dewsum in the chat room says he has a no trade clause, but details are not public.
Oh,
yeah, I look on Cap Friendly. I can't find it. So
so that means there you go.
That means he would go to New Jersey or nowhere. So that's perfect.
Yeah, hold on, my camera went out.
I mean, to move Jesper Bratt would be I think a little out of character and irresponsible, especially when you know that you could just wait the 2 years. Dougie Hamilton, send them. Dawson Mercer, send them. Simone Nemec, send them. Seamus Casey, if you have to, send them. First round picks, second round picks, third round picks. We don't need any more prospects at this point. Time to win is now, and do what you have to do to make it happen. But Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, and even, to be honest, I wouldn't trade Timo Meier either. But
I don't know why my camera doesn't want me on right now, but I can't figure it. So I'm gonna just stay off for now on camera. But anyway, I'll try to fix it as we're going. I may have to log out to do it. So let me do that. But let me give you guys a topic here, or Kevin, I'll give you the floor if you'd like. But go ahead.
I just wanted to know why he wouldn't give up a Timo Meier for Quinn Hughes.
It's not necessary at this point, and it's going to be hard to replace Timo. What Timo does day in and day out, if when you watch these games, those guys aren't really out there. I mean, he had 80+ points with San Jose. That was San Jose. Here, he's a no-nonsense guy. He plays on his off wing to accommodate others. He plays on the second power play to accommodate others. He still gets his 50, 60 points. He's a wrecking ball out there. No one on the opposition's having fun when Timo Meier's on the ice. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all those things are true. But on the other hand, Quinn Hughes, like, we've talked before, is he's starting to be the standard that people now use in discussing defensemen. Like, people say, well, he's no Quinn Hughes.
Right.
And, if you get him, like, I think that, your point is a valid one in terms of the Devils think, well, when he becomes an unrestricted free agent, he's just going to sign here. But, you could get him much earlier than that if you're willing to give up something.
I would love to have him earlier. I don't know. If they say they want Timo Meier for Quinn Hughes straight up, which I don't think would be it, I would pull that trigger. But I think it would have to be like a Timo Meier and a Simone Nemec, or a Timo Meier and a Seamus Casey, or Dawson Mercer, and a package of picks maybe. So
and there does seem to be sort of a theme in the NHL now that with GM starting to, come to the idea that first round picks aren't as valuable as we used to think they were in a 32 team league. Like if you're picking down 28, that used to be the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
So I think people, that's why I think it could be something like Meyer, because you got to give and we talked about this in the last show as well, but the idea of in the old days, Glenn Sather, when he was with the Oilers, would try to hammer the other team because he wanted to be able to say, well, we easily won that trade. But now GM seem to have moved to the idea of, you have to give the other general manager something to sell to his people,
right?
Or else you'll never make a trade with that team again.
Right.
So anyway,
Right.
so I do think they're going to have to give up something to get Quinn Hughes if it comes down to that.
Yeah, the draft picks, like you said, basically, in my eyes, they're lottery tickets, right? I mean, first rounder, third rounder. We're talking about Jesper Bratt. He was drafted in the 6th round, So you really don't know what you're getting with these picks. You're really just grasping at straws, but for the most part. But
next question I have for you, Chris, is did the guy get suspended who hit you on that play?
You know what? There's no word. I haven't checked. I don't even know if the commissioner even saw it. If I wanted
to this video, but you got totally cheap shotted in a men's hockey league game. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's see. I'd rather him not get suspended. So next time that we play them, he's on the ice.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Wait, is that premeditated? Can we edit that and get rid of that?
Yeah. No, I'll let it stand. I think it's good. Yeah, I mean, if you want me to, I have a lot of power in the hockey world. I could put this out to 150,000 people on Twitter and see what they have to say. See what they have to say about it, and I bet you the commissioner would eventually see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I know that. Listen, people do stupid things. That was probably the dumbest thing you could possibly do. He pays to play hockey. Whatever you call what he was doing. He was trying to play hockey. I don't want to see anyone really even get suspended. I'm sure if he had to do it over, he wouldn't swing the stick in my head. Maybe punch me in the face next time. Nice.
I'd be worried more about being arrested than being suspended.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically a assault with a deadly weapon charge there, no?
Yeah, sure.
Good thing I had a cage on. I wear a cage ever since I got hit in the nose. Then I got hit in the chin. I said, "That's it. I'm putting the cage on."
Well, that's smart.
If I didn't wear the cage there, who knows what happened?
Yeah, that was right at your head. I know, it's crazy. He basically swung his stick like a tomahawk at his head. It's craziness. All right. So Kevin, people have this question too, and then we'll get on to the topic. What the hell is wrong with the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah, I mean, it's really shocking because that team looks like it has it all, and coming in, I thought they looked really good. Their goaltending had been good. That's always the big question. And I thought they were going to be fine, but I guess Minnesota is better than we give them credit for. I mean they were in a tough division, so maybe because of that we just didn't recognize that they were a team that was capable of stepping up. Their goaltending has been good too. I mean Gustafsson, he never gets credit. So
no, I think that's what's winning him the series in my opinion right now.
Yeah,
Gustafsson. Like even though they're scoring more goals, it's just he's making key saves at key times, and Aiden Hill isn't. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair to be sure. And it used to be goaltending used to be a bigger part, in my opinion, than it is now. Now,
really,
yeah. Back in the old days, it felt like it was a little bit easier for goaltenders to steal a series than it is now. So.
I will counterpoint you on that one with the Florida series. I think that first of all, Florida is so far inside Tampa's head at this point. It's just nuts.
That's fair.
You can see it in the first game. The first game is how Florida wants to play. And then the second game was what Tampa has. When you think about when all Tampa's won their Stanley Cups or big games they've had, if you look at the scores of those games, they're generally like 1-0 or 2-1. When Tampa really wants to win a game, they lock it down and they play that style, and that's what they played in game 2, and they still lost. So it's really a tough thing. Florida can play either of those games, and that's a really big issue. And obviously, Kachuk is healthy.
Tampa now they have to go on the road. So let's see what happens. It's much different than the
I guess my only point is that in the old days, if you had a really, really good goalie, you were a favorite in the series. And I don't think goalies intimidate teams anymore like they do. Occasionally, when they're playing well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it makes a difference, as we just said about Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Florida went in and thought, wow, Vasilevsky has been so good.
No.
So,
No, but I think that Tampa worried about it because Florida's actually pretty much owned Vasilevsky all the time. Like they really have done well against him the last couple of years. But Bobrovsky has he shows he's got that level. He's got that other level that he goes to, and it's just crazy. Like I watched Bobrovsky a lot this year in the regular season, and he's good. But when you watch him in the playoffs, it's like
it's another level.
It's another place, and he's so calm, And here's the irony of that, because when Bob got kicked out of Philly for essentially when he was in Flyer, there was a playoff game coming up, and they had one goalie, I forget who it was, but maybe Boucher, or it might have been Boucher, was playing, and I think maybe somebody else, I forget who it was, but they had a starting goalie that played all year. Bob was a backup, and the starting goalie had trouble in the first two games, was really terrible. So the Flyers went to Bob, we're going to go do your game 3, and he emotionally couldn't handle it. He actually got too stressed out. It's normal for players to throw up before games and stuff like that. You see that kind of thing, but he just literally was shaking to the point where they couldn't put him in. And Ed Snyder was like, we can't have a player on our team that can't play when it matters. So to see that's where Bob came from, and to see where he is now, it's insane. Talk about a whole 180. It's just, that's crazy.
I mean, they have these, sports psychiatrists like that, that A-Rod had one back in the day. A lot of guys now do use that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he got the right one. Maybe he did nothing matters.
He's the nicest guy. He works out harder than anybody I've ever seen. He was it would be after these tough games he has, he's in the bike room he just does that. He's so in shape, super nice guy, but he's grown so much. It's just nuts. All right. So yeah, the Vegas, what I'm starting to think though, is that the difference between those teams like Vegas, Winnipeg, St. Louis, and Minnesota is just not that big. They might have had better records, but at the end of the day, it really could come down to goaltending or something stupid, because it's just really not. I don't feel like it's the same thing as Washington and Montreal, which I think is a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think goaltending, in this postseason, there's been some pretty bad goaltending. We didn't touch on Edmonton yet, but
yeah, we should.
Did you hear what happened with Stuart Skinner in LA? He was actually late to get down to the room for the hotel lobby. The bus was about to leave, so he ran out in front of the bus and he put his hand out. He's like, "Stop!" And the bus went right through his legs.
All right.
That's actually, I recycled. That used to be a Ron Hextall joke.
I'm sure it was.
I threw Stuart Skinner in there.
Was that bus called Claude Lemieux?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. No, that's so funny. It's really weird because, Kevin, we've talked about how much the team honestly loves Calvin Pickard. He's isn't that true? You've heard that too, right?
Yeah.
And they're not. I get Skinner's your guy or whatever, but he's just not. He shouldn't be your guy. I guess that's in my opinion.
Yeah, but Pickard, doesn't have a pedigree either. Doesn't have. He just hasn't. He's been really an AHL goalie more than
he has been. But I think the reality here, though, is you need a goalie who can just make your basic stops, and where Skinner can make the great save occasionally that Pickard might not make. There's more basic stops in a game that are great saves. So to me, that's the balance of it all. Yeah, it's hard to really say, but they don't have a good goalie really there. But could this affect? This is the question I have. And we'll get on to our topic. I feel like this goaltending situation could actually affect McDavid's future there.
Certainly he's going to think about it the next time and to re-up. This team has not made progress, in terms of at least consistent progress.
Yeah.
They with that offense, they should be able to, and those two great players, two of the top, 4 players in the league, 4 or 5. They should be able to, be in every playoff series. But, defense, has been a constant problem, and goaltending is a problem now. And
Yeah.
Plus I don't see any answer out there too. I mean, I've been reading about what everyone's talking about. There's not much available in goaltending
No.
wise UFA market, and the potential goalies that will be traded. Not much there too. Like, where are they really going to go? And some of the ones that are available come with, also, how good are they? Like Gibson.
Yeah.
Like, do we really know how good Gibson is? He's played for such a poor team for so long.
Yeah. I mean, I think we do because he's kept that team in games for sure. But I've never been a huge Kevin Gibson fan, so it's Kevin Gibson. I like Kevin Gibson. But but I don't get Evan out here because like Lindgren was available for the season. Mackenzie Blackwood was out there.
Yeah, but all those, those were not solid locks. I mean,
they weren't locks, but
there's always guys like that. But before this playoff started, like I said, the biggest credit I give Colorado is going out and deciding, that he could solve their goaltending problems because it wasn't a lock. Like,
No, but I think that among scouts, like even though Mackenzie Blackwood was very iffy in New Jersey at different times and stuff like that, I'm sure you remember. But he also was like always known as being one of the most athletic goalies in the league, and like absolutely could make things happen. And
but it wasn't like you were getting a guy that'd been there, had done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, still they had to do some kind of projection on him, and I think people thought they made a good, it's a good roll of the dice. But it's turned out really, really well for him.
Yeah. So the theme today is rules that should be changed in the playoffs. So for playoff purposes, I wrote an article the other day about this. Like, I think the most ridiculous rule at all is that goalies have to is that coaches have to challenge things in the last couple of minutes, and we've seen it now happen in 2 games, Montreal and Toronto, where Montreal challenged and lost and had to go 2 men down. Toronto didn't decide not to challenge, and the fact that we put this on the coaches. Like, if this was the NFL, this would not be a case. It's not be an issue. Like, they would have figured it out by now and said, okay, third periods of playoff games or whatever, everything questionable gets reviewed quickly. Because it's not like you can't review things quickly. And I bring up that because when you look at it, by the time the coaches make the challenge, we at home know whether they should make the challenge or not. We've seen the review, we've seen the replay, and it's so that to me is like, why are we putting the responsibility of getting it right on the coaches? Kev?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't understand it either. I mean, it should be automatic. The only thing I would say is that I'm guessing is that it does take longer in the NHL because goalie interference and those kind of things are subjective, and it just takes long to look at all the angles and all that kind of stuff. But I would still do it anyway. I mean, it's too important not to. So it makes sense to me. But I guess the only thing you'd have to decide is, how many minutes, 4 minutes, now since we're pulling goalies now with 3+ minutes to go. Like, I feel like it's gotta be maybe 4 minutes or 3.5, something.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Devils might have pulled their goalie already.
Yeah.
No, just I'm pushing hard because I get a chance to beat up on this team that I hated as a kid.
Every time they pull a goalie, it's immediate. They don't even touch the puck, and it ends up in the net. Guarantee every time.
That's funny. What are your thoughts on this rule, Chris?
Well, yeah, I'm with both of you guys. I don't see why they can't focus on if it's in the final 5 or final 10 minutes, make some type of distinction there. And overtime, I guess the whole thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But let's get the calls right. Let's focus on that. Let's not worry about the game being 2 or 3 minutes longer. Sell a few of those commercials, the little ones with the box in the corner. It'll work for everyone.
Right, and, the half screen commercials. I think that's a great idea.
Let's get calls right. Not like in the MLB. Did you see that Aaron Judge home run?
No.
He hit a home run like 500+ feet in Tampa. Clearly fair. Everybody sees it. They review it. No home run. So if you get a chance, check that out later.
I will check it out. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be mistakes and there's going to be issues. And like these pucks shot out of the rink, they made like a big deal that was reviewable. Like that. Remember that there was a big deal. Yeah. But honestly, it's not that easy to review that. Like there's certain plays that it's, in Montreal, they were talking about, well, the puck changed its started spinning in a weird way or whatever after we think it hit the boards, it's like that's and then you're looking at a puck against a background of people, and you're trying to figure that out. And then in the other game, I said that it should have definitely been a penalty because whoever was on Ottawa was literally up against the boards and shot it out of the rink on this right where he was. So to me, like, there's no way you could shoot it straight up and have it curve over or have it hit the glass. If it hits the glass and you're shooting it straight up, it's going to hit the glass. It's going to go that way. And it's not going to go in, not going to go out. So it's obviously he hit it in a way that didn't hit the glass, but yeah, that logic and common sense. That's another thing. We can talk about that later. So that's one rule that I think that is really failing. And I get mad because, we all grew up when the NHL wasn't like as big a deal as it is now. And with you were like kind of special if you liked hockey or whatever. And, and we didn't have any casual fans. We still don't have many, but we didn't have any. But I feel like when the Four Nations stuff like that, we've gotten more casual fans. And if one of these Mickey Mouse type calls is not allowed to be reviewed, people and ends up changing something, it's going to be kind of like that famous McKinnon offsides, right? Like, which was just like, but now we got more people watching. And I feel like
actually didn't we have less people watching? I saw that the first couple of games ratings were down for really unknown reasons. Is it because we're going up against the NBA maybe? And I don't know what's happening.
So. I mean, I don't know. I think the Venn diagram between NBA fans and NHL fans doesn't touch very much. Maybe it does, but I don't know.
I think it
maybe it does. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean,
it certainly does in New York.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I only saw like the first night, or maybe it was 2 nights I saw. I don't know what's happened since then. Maybe it's kind of back around again. But I did see the ratings were down. In the first couple of games.
Here's the other thing. The other rule in the playoffs that I think that we should talk about a little bit is this happened too already, is the concept of if we can't see the puck over the line, it's not a goal, even if the goalie's glove is over the line and the puck is in there. But as long if we don't see it cross the line, this goes back to like Danny Briere and when he was with the Sabres a long time ago. Remember that series against, I think it was Rangers, right? Where Briere scores what is obvious. What Lundqvist obviously his like glove is in the net, but but you see the puck cross the line and then go into his glove, but you don't see any white between the puck and the line ever. What are we doing?
I do remember early in my career that the goalies used to be really, really skilled. Like when they'd be laying down and the puck was in the net, they could sort of twitch their back and sort of move a little. Remember when they used to do that?
They still do it.
So then it's up to the ref to figure out. Well, did I see the puck over there? Is it underneath them? And they're really skilled at doing that. So I'm a little bit sympathetic, but there is some logic that has to be applied in all sports on these kind of things. Where it's gone over the line because they had to based on different angles and everything, but you don't actually see it. So I do understand that.
Yeah, it's just another thing I feel like we could get caught on ESPN Sports Center and be like, well, they don't call this a goal in the NHL, even if you can't see the puck anymore. We don't follow the rules of thermodynamics and physics in here. That's not our league doesn't do that. So just completely. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I mean, we could definitely put a chip, right? We have trackers and players' jerseys that are telling us how many strides they took, how far they went. We could put a chip in a puck and just no more questions because it's really ridiculous that the goalie could have it under his arm and he slides 6 feet back in, but if you don't see that hit that arm lift and that puck in the net, it's no goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think
Hellebuyck did it the other day. Hellebuyck had a breakaway on Hellebuyck the other night in game 2, I think it was, and. To me, it was obvious his puck was under his pads, but it was obvious he was like his front of his pads were like on the goal line pretty much, and he didn't have it, but he did the whole like you said the wiggle swiggle stuff, and quickly because he's Hellebuyck and he knows what he's doing. Yeah. But that was just like holy kick, that's crazy. Yeah, so that's something I think that we really have to consider. Anything that's been stricken out to you guys as far as the playoff stuff goes?
I like the way they've called it. They're kind of letting guys play for the most part.
The
other, like the 5-minute penalty last night on Hagel. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, the puck was about to go in Barkov's feet just because he didn't touch the puck and Hagel still threw the hit. they give him the 5 minutes. I would have liked to see a little less there, maybe a 2, maybe a 4, but five's a lot for that. That's what kind of took Tampa back off their game for a bit, probably tired them out there down the stretch, and they weren't able to get that one goal they needed to tie.
You're right. What do you think about that, Kevin?
It's interesting. Yeah, I really haven't seen this much. I mean, the ones you brought up, I think, were appropriate. But I really haven't seen much. Like, I think it's actually gone okay in terms of officiating, and we've seen years when it doesn't, and this doesn't seem like one of them.
No, I think they've been good. I'm not blaming the refs even for any of these things, because these are the rules. It's like this is what we have, and it's like like I brought up the example in my blog the other day that if you were in a foreign land, you went up to the bank and you took out money, and you're like, and it's all crowded and people running around like crazy, but you see there's a security guard there, you're okay taking out money. You take out the money, you shove it in your pocket, you work your way through to get out, and you get outside. And now when you get outside, you look in your pocket and the money's gone. So you go back in to talk to the security guard, who's you say to him, "Man, someone stole my money." And the security guard said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Well, you didn't think to yourself, you maybe could have dropped it. Something could have happened. But yeah, someone stole my money." He's like, "Well, because in this country, if you lie about being robbed, you can go to jail for 30 days. So are you sure someone stole your money?" And then at that point, you look up and there's a camera there, a security camera. And you're like, "Yeah, look at this. You go to the security camera. We're not allowed to go there unless you say you're sure. And if you're sure and wrong, you're in jail." That's what's happening. That's a decision. That's a decision that has to be made. Like, what would you do in that situation? I'm like, you had like $100 you lost, but maybe it fell out of your pocket. You don't want to go to jail.
I think Chris's point before too about technology and the chip, it's almost our mentality and our love of tradition has not allowed us to take advantage of all the technology that we have available. Like if we're not exactly where we need to be able to take use lasers to determine if a chip in a puck crossed the line, we're pretty close to doing that. So, in baseball this year, I watched in spring training, the appeal of balls and strikes, which I didn't think would ever happen, and it really worked well. In fact,
they're very much the equivalent. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it was really incredible how well it worked, and we don't see it in the regular season because it's the same thing. The mentality of that, the sacred nature of the ball and strike call, just disrupts us from implementing it right away, because and it took like no time at all. And it's no different than tennis with the in and out, which used to
that's exactly it too, right? And soccer has this already, where a ball goes in the net in soccer, and in England they already have the automatic chip in it.
Well, they seem to be a little more progressive. They're actually talking about getting rid of injury time in soccer, which I never thought they would do that. Where the guy just kind of guesses. I think 9 minutes of injury time. Where now they're just going to stop the clock when a guy's hurt.
Well, that gets into the fact that all soccer players are wimps.
Yeah,
they're completely ridiculous.
So you'll be stopping the clock a lot, but
you have to stop it a lot. And soccer should absolutely take something from the NHL and not end games in shootouts, but they should go to 7-on-7 for 10 minutes in soccer, and you would have a great, exciting ending. That's my opinion. I just think that's how it would work. Someone would score in 7-on-7. Anyway,
I would say the penalties in soccer have a lot more drama than the shootout in the NHL. So
I think it's less because it's so much more lucky than the NHL. Like an NHL, like the goalie has the advantage technically.
No, I don't see it. I mean, you look at the
left or right. My daughter was a goalie. I hated this.
I know. I mean, but I get that. But all you got to do is look at the history of penalties in the World Cup, and I mean, it's just incredible how how those are memorialized. It is guessing. You're absolutely right, but it's people seem to love it. The tension is.
Yeah, I think this is why I think they love it, because they can blame it. Like they can get to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to shoot to a penalty kick thing now. our team played well, but who knows? It's a penalty kick thing. Anything could happen. We could lose. It's very different than like a penalty shot thing. But if our goalie guess is right, we're going to win. If we don't, it's okay. It's not their team's fault because it's just the way it is. To me, it's like
I think you oversimplified it, but yes, I do get the luck aspect of it for sure.
Yeah, it's just kind of and that we decide the World Cup on this. Like this is like I just don't understand that. That's like at least the NHL like goes not to a shootout in the Four Nations final, or whatever. It's like come on.
Well, I'll give you what the Igor Larionov once kind of told me. He thought that the NHL's tradition of long overtimes in the playoffs was ludicrous. And he said, it should be decided after a period of overtime, with the shootout, that type of thing. And I said, well, why do you say that? All that is like, it's like shooting free throws in basketball or, anything like that. And he goes, well, if you play more than 4 periods in hockey, then it just becomes a battle of fatigue.
Yeah.
It's all about, and he goes, you don't want a game decided on fatigue. You want it decided on skill.
It's freaking entertaining.
Yeah. So anyway, that was his take on it. So
yeah, I've heard that too, but not like very often because why it's not ludicrous is the fact that of all the people involved in this, the players would be the ones who complain the most because they're playing forever, right? I've never heard one player complain about it.
Yeah. Also, being able to not be fatigued, training to that level is a skill in of itself.
Right.
So, well, it is, but again, Igor Larionov is considered one of the most smartest high IQ players ever to play.
So call him the professor, right? I disagree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's just a real kind of student. Though that wasn't my favorite Igor memory. It was when he was playing at a high level in his mid to late 30s. I was talking about his training regimen, and he goes, "You know what my secret is, Kevin?" He goes, "Really?" And this is my secret. It's 1 glass of wine every night before I go to bed. And so when it got to be his last year, I said, "Have you changed everything?" He goes, "I really have. If you're going to play this long, you got to change your regimen." And he goes, "Now I drink 2 glasses of wine."
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah,
I love but also this is the point is the kid grew up in a soccer country, Larionov. So maybe that's why I think the shootout's better, because that's like what they have.
Well, he's clearly in the minority. I mean, I get all of it, but I mean, my point is that different people see things differently. And
for sure.
He's a real student of the game, even though they call him professor. But he just kind of saw it that way, and I do know that. Soccer people would look at you crazy if you said.
Oh, they have. I've had this fight with them.
I mean that's their tradition. Like
I had a fight with a guy when this is under 14 team. My daughter's playing in Europe for the USA under 14, like one of the many under 14, whatever it was, And I was on the bus, with the other dads and stuff like that. We had the parents bus, and I was like, I just started bringing up how much I hate we're starting to see players that we were playing over there from other countries. Girls at 14 faking injury, like falling down and losing the whole injury thing. And I'm like, and the guys on the bus were like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a hockey guy." That's such a part of this game. Like that's so important in this game. Like that's a play that you have to be good at. Our girls aren't good at it, and it stinks. We should be training them to do that. I'm like, I will never coach a girl to fake an injury. Like that's something I would never do in a million years.
That's the most European thing I've ever heard. I'm friends with a lot of youth hockey coaches around here in like New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah.
And I play hockey with them and all that. And they coach the kids and they tell the kids, if you lay on the ice and you don't get up and we have to stop the play for you and the parents have to get in a frenzy thinking that you're really hurt and the coaches have to come off the bench. If you're not hurt and you do that, you're not going back in the game. You're out for the rest of the game anyway.
I like it.
I mean, I think that's what they should go with. If there's a stoppage on the ice because of you laying there, and you're good to skate, you can't skate. You're off.
I like that. That's hardcore. I like it. If that happened in soccer, we had rules that you couldn't go back in the game because everybody was worried about concussions anyway. So it was like completely like, if you even hit heads or even looked like you had a concussion, like I was against headers with girls, like small girl soccer. I didn't think was a right idea to like teach them headers just because it was I know it's a big part of soccer, but that's your head banging around up there. I had concussions. I had to stop playing hockey for a long time because of concussions. I know what that's like, and it's not fun.
I just keep adding to the collection, as you saw in that video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's craziness.
Well,
That's all the time we have for today. Oh, go ahead, Kev.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think they might have changed it. I don't in youth soccer now.
Really?
I don't think you can head now until whatever.
Like high school, at least, I would think. I would
Oh,
think
I
high
think
school.
so. I think it's before that, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that, but I know they were
Yeah.
talking about that anyway when I was in it.
I mean, our brains develop until we're 19 or 20, basically, and like that to me makes no sense that they're still developing. That's why kids shouldn't smoke pot when they're younger. It's like your brain is still developing, and to then practice, like have practices where a guy is throwing a ball at you and you have to head 25 back in a row. It's just I'm like this is dumb, but they hated me for that too. There's a T-shirt I saw that I was going to buy on the internet that says hockey. It's like soccer, only fun. I want to buy that shirt very badly.
I agree.
All right, guys. This is a great show. Chris, thanks as always. Kevin, thanks as always. Just as time goes by so fast. For all you out there, enjoy the games tonight. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We'll talk to you soon.